All right. How's everybody doing? So today I kind of wanted to talk about modern music as a tool of propaganda. Now, as we kind of know, all media is a tool of propaganda. Usually you aren't seeing anything unless you're seeing it for a reason because a specific company wants you to view the world differently, maybe, or they want you to buy their product. They want you to buy into their lifestyle or their narrative. And it's something that's very easy to see with advertising. You'll see a car commercial and you'll know immediately this company is trying to sell me this. But it becomes a little harder when we're looking at things like movies or music. For instance, a lot of the A24 movies that have been coming out recently in the past 10 years are pushing a very specific narrative. Oftentimes you'll see a religion, predominantly Christianity, being bashed, or the idea that the white male is the evil one. That masculinity is toxic. Stuff like that. Now, with music, sometimes it's even harder. But as of recently, the last few years, I've kind of noticed it's become, at least for me, it's become a little bit easier. In my opinion, it's become a bit more overt. They're not necessarily trying to hide it. A lot of these narratives that they're pushing are open and they're out in front. So let's see. To start it off, I kind of wanted to break modern pop music down into the three different narratives they're pushing. Obviously, there's more than this, and I'm not going to specifically touch on, the Taylor Swift one because I believe that one's a lot to unpack. And one that specifically we're seeing pushed by the State Department itself. All these other ones are kind of just being pushed by the major labels, Saturday Night Live, the major media companies. And seems to me they're pushing these main three for a specific reason. So the first one I would say is the oldest one of the three that I'm going to get into. We've been seeing it since, Madonna, probably before that with Cher. But, the overt sexualization of women, and this happens a little bit with men as well, but they just want you thinking about sex. Promiscuity, having sex with multiple different partners. They want you to visualize sex. And, like I said, with Madonna, we're seeing this a lot. We saw it with Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. Now we're seeing it with people like Sabrina Carpenter. All of her songs are about sex. Anytime she's in public, she's talking or wearing something that is very revealing or something that makes you in your brain without even, wanting to sexualize her. And, we'll go into further into that in a little bit. So the second would be what I, and many others, I would say, have deemed the homosexual agenda. This is probably the newest of the three that I'm going to talk about today. But this one specifically seems to, really be manifesting itself, with people like, Charlie XCX, the Chapel Roan, the conversion recently of the Billie Eilish, all three of these ladies are pushing for homosexuality. They want your children to see this from a very young age. That's why each of those three has been, mainstay on places like SNL, the places like the Grammys. They want They just want this out in the open, that you should be a homosexual. You should be identifying as something that is not normal, or that is specifically deviant, such as these. So the third one I want to talk about is gangster rap, or it's pretty much rap music as a whole nowadays. But either they are talking about the first, which is the over-sexualization of something, promiscuity, wanting to have sex with a ton of different partners. We're seeing this a lot with the female rappers that are coming out nowadays. A lot of them are just talking about, their vaginas, or, the different sexual acts they are trying to perform. The thing that sets this apart is a lot of the male rappers, and this happens with females too. It's the idea of murdering someone else. This has become very popular in modern rap music, just talking about killing your opposition. And we're seeing this kind of, and it happens, it's being played everywhere. You're hearing it in TikToks that aren't necessarily about specifically killing people. You're hearing songs that these kids are singing to that are about hitting people with your gun, or, killing their opposition or whatever. And it's this kind of music is being pushed for a specific reason. Okay, so let's start there. Why is the mainstream media pushing you to kill, the people in your neighborhood, to kill the people that you've disagreed with, or the people that were born in a different neighborhood, per se? Gangs, Kendrick Lamar being the most famous rapper right now, while also his biggest hit is a diss song. They're not like us. They're not from this specific set, therefore they need to die and I need to kill them. Why would anyone push this kind of idea, push this narrative that, children are singing it, winning all these Grammys, as we saw, children are watching it. They're seeing that these kind of songs are going to make them popular. They're going to be the ones that, you can get some stardom and become famous, not have to work a regular job, not have to, in many cases, not have to sell drugs or whatever, or you can sell drugs to make it to this position. And, in my opinion, there's a reason that these kind of narratives are being pushed. And this one specifically, I specifically feel like this one is to hold, the inner city people down, the black youth down. They want, I know in the 90s, in the 80s, the idea was, don't go to school, or go to school only to play sports, and that your only way out of the hood, is this 0.01 chance of you becoming a basketball star, a football star, a sports star. And so now it's kind of, that narrative's kind of switched to now, don't go to school at all. Don't even play sports now. Just become a rapper, sell drugs, kill your enemies, and you can have a chance at rising to stardom. You won't have to worry about money again because it'll be taken care of by these major labels. And, they're pushing this reason to keep this group of people, in the situation they are. And that is, in and out of the prison system, which is, for a lot of these companies, they're invested into these private prisons, or companies that are, working alongside of these private prisons, which is basically modern day slavery. These people are doing the lowest menial jobs for pennies on the hour. As we saw with the LA Palisades fire, a predominant amount of the firefighters fighting were inmates, getting paid 13 cents an hour or something low like that. And, that's modern day chattel slavery, rather than go scoop people from Africa and drag them over on a boat. Now we already have them here. So let's just convince them to doing illegal things that are going to put them into that sort of slavery, And so I guess the other idea, and this is, this is something that, women like Margaret Sanger, for those of you who don't know, she is the woman that kind of started the Planned Parenthood thing, the abortion clinic on every inner city corner idea. And she did that for a reason. She was a eugenicist, and she believed that poor people were breeding too much, and that they, specifically people of color, were, needed help or needed to be forced to stop breeding like that. So setting up a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic on every inner city corner, and then preaching things like, oh, this is feminism. It is the feminist role to abort your child and to not procreate. This idea, it's been around for a very long time, So with rap music, what they're doing now is procreate all you want, but we're going to make your children slaves, or if they don't make it to slavery, we're just going to have them kill each other. We're just going to make them wipe each other off the world, which is, this is one of the most disgusting narratives there is, and it's being pushed by these major labels. They wouldn't promote people like Kendrick Lamar, like NBA YoungBoy, like, the list goes on. They wouldn't be promoting people like this if there wasn't an ulterior motive. Sure, there's money, but they could be making money any list of ways. They don't have to sell out black people. They don't have to sell out the inner cities to be making their dollars, to be feeding their children. This is, you could say that about any of the labels that are pushing these narratives that, oh, they're just trying to make money. But there's a million ways to get a dollar. And you do not need to sell out future generations. You do not need to be destroying current generations to make your money. And I think that's a huge problem. And one of the reasons why it's so hard for the black community to, get out of the idea that they commit more crimes per capita, or the idea that they, are the lowest on the totem pole, because, every other minority that's been here is doing 1,000 times better. Asian community, European community, immigrants, they're all been here for shorter amounts of time, but those communities have done much better. And you can always bring it back to, oh, they were slaves, but at the same time, they're caught in this cycle of slavery. And I don't put the blame wholly on them. Whereas I do believe that personal choice always has, an effect. A lot of these children are being brought up to believe that the only way to get out of the position they're in is selling drugs or murdering people. And how despicable of these record companies to be pushing and promoting this. How despicable of our social media sites to be also promoting this, to be making these rappers, the grimiest rapper alive is now the top of the chain. It's just all, it's all just very bad. It's gross. It feels bad. And, part of me starting this channel is to kind of wake people up to that, to how bad it really is. So then we'll move on to 2, which would be kind of the homosexual agenda. Now, this one, like I said, is the newest one in my opinion. I wouldn't say I really even noticed this until 3 or 4 years ago, but it truly seems like if you aren't a gangster rapper, if you aren't pushing for modern day slavery, you are pushing a different form of eugenics. This goes back to the same thing with gangster music. They want poor people. They want, people in general to be breeding less, so what easier way than to make everyone homosexual? And, this kind of goes back to the idea, from an old Alex Jones meme about they're putting stuff in the water to turn the frogs gay. Now, this has been proven fact, whether it is the actual microplastics that are boosting estrogen levels or whatnot. This is, turning, people into homosexuals. And, you're seeing this a lot with young men. They make toxic masculinity the ultimate bad guy. So, a young man is being demonized for having any testosterone at all. The young men that you see making it nowadays are the ones that are, brimming with estrogen, and, overtly homosexuality or overtly homosexual. So there's a reason these kind of things are being promoted. There's a reason why Chappell Roan, Charlie XCX, Billie Eilish have all been mainstays on places like Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live is a big one to kind of push the idea that this is who is popular right now. Whether or not they are, whether or not that success or that popularity is organic or something that people actually, are actually enjoying, all these numbers and all these ideas of popularity can be manufactured nowadays. One does not need to make good songs to have a record company put billions of views into their Spotify and give them this sense that, oh, everyone is listening to this artist, I should be listening as well. Or, this is the world's most popular artist, she won all these Grammys or whatever, so I should be listening to this as well. And, I imagine there's a ton of people that get their music that way. They look at the top 40, they look at the people that are making the hits at that time, and they just click play, and that's their new favorite artist. No one cared about Chappell Roan 3 years ago, but now she's the biggest artist in the world. She's playing, like I said, SNL, the Grammys, all these award shows, and she is pushing a very specific agenda. She is telling you that you should be a homosexual. She is telling you the idea that homosexuals have more fun, or, straight people are now weird, but abnormal. And like I said, I think this is being pushed for a specific reason, and I would say that that specific reason is similar to the one of gangster rap, which is eugenics. These people have been pushing these kind of overpopulation theories for a long time, and the reality of that matter is, we're very far from overpopulating, and that's really not something that anyone should be stressed about. But it is easier for these elite to kind of gather up all the resources and maintain power when there are fewer people to split the pie with. You know, you don't have to take care of cities full of people if the people themselves stop breeding. And a good way, you know, with gangster rap, you know, rather than they're just killing people off, with this one specifically, it is they just won't breed anymore. You know, convince them to be LGBTQ and they just won't. You know, no longer the birth rates are dropping, you know, that kind of thing is plummeting as these kind of things are rising. You know, so we're already really seeing the effects, and they're already extremely detrimental. You know, I can't remember who the guy, what his name is, but he speaks about China and how their one child rule, has a negative impact on their future, and we're going to see that same negative impact on our future. You know, when no one is having children because everyone's gay, you know, who is going to take care of us when we're old, or who's going to take care of your grandparents? Like, it just doesn't, it's not a natural thing, and it doesn't make any real sense. You know, you can't convince me that every child is a homosexual nowadays. You just can't. You know, they're being brainwashed, and they're being brainwashed by popular media. Like I said, a lot of these A24 movies are pushing things like toxic masculinity is the ultimate evil, or that religion is the ultimate evil, specifically Christianity being the ultimate evil. And this kind of music goes hand in hand with that. So they're getting it really from every different way. You know, you're driving your car, you're hearing the top 40, and all those songs are telling you and telling your children that are in the back seat that, you know, you will be more happy if you just accept that you're a homosexual. You will be more happy if you know, decide to switch genders and mutilate your genitalia. You know, you will be more happy if you come out as one of these things, and if anyone doesn't accept you, then it's their problem. That person's the bigot. When, you know, these people are abnormal and they're pushing an abnormal, unnatural state. You know, these things. So I just cut out there. Let's see. I was just kind of finishing up with what I kind of see as the homosexual agenda. So real quick, I wanted to move on to the last one, and that was the promiscuity and the overt sexualization. This is another one, and this one I would say has been pushed for a very long time now. You know, we have seen, let's see, I'm getting to the same levels. We're seeing a lot of the Britney Spears, the Christina Aguileras, the Madonna, all the way back, in my opinion, to Cher, who was kind of like the first artist to kind of really be out there in the media, really just showing off her body, less and less clothes now. You know, the idea of this is feminism. My body, my choice. I can do whatever I want. But as we've seen with, is it Gloria? Let me look this up real quick. Gloria Steinem. You know, Gloria Steinem was a CIA. You know, she was on the CIA payroll. So this is like this kind of feminism and these kind of ideas of liberating the female body is being pushed from inorganic places. So this is Gloria Steinem specifically was, like I said, on the CIA payroll, just as, you know, many of these major labels are getting kickbacks from state departments. I mentioned earlier that, you know, the Taylor Swifts, her specifically, she kind of sits outside of these three that I kind of brought up. And, you know, she is someone that I think it might not be easily accessible right now, but in the future we'll be able to kind of see that, oh, this much money from the State Department or this much money from, said Alphabet organization was, her career was kind of influenced by this kind of money. But so what I would be talking about is the Sabrina Carpenter's, everything I see her on, she's one of the most popular stars in the world. And, she's not necessarily pushing either of the other two, the gangster rap or the, the homosexual thing. She's pushing a very specific kind of feminism. And it's, you should be able to go into crowded places naked. You should be able to wear the most revealing things and be overtly sexual in every aspect of your life and everything you do. You should be able to allude to your sexuality, and this has an effect. These kind of things affect people, and when you're viewing it, all you can think of is sex. They want you to only be able to think about sex, and they want this to happen from a very young age. They want young children thinking about sex. They want to, as we saw with like the Miley Cyruses and the Disney characters and the Nickelodeon characters, the way they did kind of the Amanda Bynes, having her pretty much do foot fetish kind of things on her, her show. And it's like these people that are pushing these things, they're pedophiles. We've known this for a long time, that the elite are pedophiles, and they kind of work in those circles, the Jeffrey Epsteins, people think of it as, Jeffrey Epstein was a closed off thing, that he was like not representative of larger elite as a whole. But then, you start to look back, you see things like Delta Group, Operation Delta, Fox Island, the Franklin story. And it's like these people have been into this kind of thing for forever, probably. These elite and these people at the top of the food chain are into, pedophilia. And, whether that's whether that is a specific, just fetish, or whether it is something more along the lines of, satanic, they're doing it to specifically push a satanic agenda. That's to be discussed. I'm not going to say either way. I personally, have my beliefs on it. But I would, kind of allow people to make their own inferences about it. I'll talk about my personal experiences with that kind of stuff later, my personal beliefs on that later. But I believe that the reason this kind of music is being pushed is because the people at the top, this is the kind of stuff they're into, and with like the Satanism or whatever that we're seeing a lot of, I would say the other reason that this kind of promiscuity and sex is because overall it is anti-religious. It is pushing an atheist worldview, which is, I would say, the most popular. Anecdotally, the church I've attended since I was a young man, since my parents raised me in, I remember going to church on Sundays and every seat being filled. This is a Methodist Christian church. Now when I go on Sundays, when I attend with my grandma, there's nobody there. You're lucky to see the top 3 pews filled. And, that's speaking of a larger issue in our world as a whole. We have taken God out of things. No longer are we, worried about sin. No longer are we worried about, God. Now we're worried about having sex with as many people as possible. The porn star is one of the most glorified roles on social media these days. And I feel like this all kind of comes from, these elite people pushing these specific narratives, propaganda, and a lot of it is coming from, specifically music. The top 40, if you can listen to a song that's either not about gangster rap, not, about homosexuality, not about, promiscuity or overt sexualization, then, what else is there? Taylor Swift writes songs, that are very specific and very niche to her audience. And then, there's just other ones that we can talk about at another time, specifically the Lady Gaga and her latest song that is obviously satanic, Abracadabra, Aleister Crowley, bop, 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 we all know about this kind of stuff. So I'd say, finishing up, just kind of, when you're absorbing this kind of media, when you're absorbing these these films and these this kind of music, think about the narrative or the worldview that's being pushed onto you. Think of what the person that is promoting that music wants you to come away with from after listening to this kind of thing. It is more than just about making money. It is more than just about, this song is danceable or whatever. This 4 on the Floor song is danceable, so it's good. They're trying to push an agenda, and they're doing it for a specific reason. So I think that's it. If you can, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting more videos of this kind of, talking about what I believe the reasons for this are. I apologize for the studio. It's in disarray at the moment. I just got finished, moving some stuff around. But I'm hoping to kind of make this my space for future videos. Thank you for watching, and we will talk again later. Thank you.